He looks the best shape and the strongest he's ever been is what his coaches are saying. It means like, yeah, like the badass or some shit in Spanish. But bro is like so powerful, so skillful, relentless.
Seeing Anthony Joshua hit the 400-kilo bag with so much power really scares Jake Paul. He can barely keep up and even admits he has no idea what Joshua might do to him, and the ring fans can sense his fear and clearly see the huge difference between a real heavyweight champion and an entertainer like Jake Paul.
Big power, and if he lands on you, you're done, you're out. And
Watching Anthony Joshua in the gym clearly rattles Jake Paul. Joshua's focus, size and intensity are on another level. Jake looks nervous and even admits that his eyes only reach Joshua's chest. This isn't just some sparring partner, this is a world-class champion, and Jake can't hide his fear knowing he's stepping into a completely different league.
He looks intense, focused, locked in. He's obviously very, very tall. Looking up, my tallest opponent. My eyes are at his,
Benitez Sr. warns people not to underestimate Jake Paul, but he also makes it clear how much danger Paul is in. Anthony Joshua is a serious threat, and while an upset could happen in theory, it feels nearly impossible when you consider Joshua's skill, power and experience. The difference between an entertainer like Jake Paul and a real heavyweight champion shows in every single gym session.
No, don't count him out. I think that's a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, we could have a big upset, but...
Tyson Fury's reaction shows he thinks Jake Paul has no hope in this matchup. He calls the situation extremely bad and says Paul is totally outmatched. After seeing Joshua's training and power, it's obvious Paul won't be able to shake off the intimidation or rise to Joshua's level in the ring.
Shockingly terrible. Yeah, shockingly, yeah. Down. Very much down. Can't shake it. Can't shake it.
Eddie Hearn doesn't hold back when he says Jake Paul is crazy for taking this fight. He predicts Paul will get completely smashed, pointing out how one-sided the matchup is. Joshua's power, accuracy and experience are on a totally different level, and this huge difference makes Paul's vulnerability obvious to everyone watching.
I think he's got absolutely no chance. I think he's going to get smashed to pieces.
Duke McKenzie points out that Joshua would never underestimate Jake Paul. The difference in their training and skill is huge, and Paul looks completely unprepared against such an experienced champion. Joshua's timing, strength and ring IQ make him a nightmare for someone who has only dabbled in boxing and has never faced a real heavyweight.
I don't think Anthony Joshua would take Jake Paul lightly in any way, shape or form, and he'd be so easy to hit. You're talking about a trained athlete against...
John Fury's blunt comments leave no room for doubt. He says Joshua's power is on another level, almost beyond belief. His words highlight how unrealistic it is to expect Jake Paul to win. If the fight didn't go Joshua's way, it would be shocking. Common sense says Joshua's dominance is almost guaranteed, and Paul is stepping far beyond his depth.
They can't finish. Anthony Joshua could knock Jake Paul out with his dick. So if it goes any other way,
David Adelaide points out something many people overlook about Anthony Joshua. His punching power is even greater than most expect. Fans might appreciate Joshua's skill, but they often miss just how hard he really hits. For Jake Paul, stepping into the ring means facing someone whose punches can end a fight in an instant. Underestimating that power could be a huge mistake.
He hits harder than people expect. I think a lot of people, obviously, they pick up on his boxing and how good of a boxer he is, but he hits harder than people expect.
Spencer Oliver paints a scary picture for Jake Paul as he talks about Anthony Joshua's dominance over Francis Ngannou. Joshua's ability to break down such a dangerous fighter from another discipline shows how frightening he is in the ring. Paul's experience doesn't come close to Joshua's, and his only real boxing test ended in a loss. Joshua's skill, power and calmness make it obvious that Paul is out of his depth. Fans should expect a one-sided fight that clearly favors the heavyweight champion.
God help Jake Paul, that's all I can say. We saw that what Anthony Joshua had done to Francis Ngannou. He went out there and iced him in a couple of rounds. A guy coming from a different discipline. Well, this kid's coming from another level. White-collar boxing in 2018, gone through the mill, and the only boxer really that he's actually boxed, a legitimate boxer he got beat by, and that was in Tommy Fury.
David Benavide stresses that Anthony Joshua's reputation is well earned as a multi-time champion and Olympic gold medalist. Joshua has consistently dominated less experienced opponents. Jake Paul faces a huge challenge, as history shows Joshua can control fights against those without professional experience. It's clear that Paul is stepping into a fight where his skills and preparation just aren't enough to match a true heavyweight champion.
Anthony Joshua is Anthony Joshua. He's multiple-time champion. Olympic gold medalist, The last time somebody stepped in the ring with him that didn't have that much boxing experience was Ngannou, and you've seen what happened to him.
Joe Rogan explains the scary reality for Jake Paul facing Anthony Joshua. Joshua's Olympic background, knockout power and size make him a nightmare opponent. Rogan compares Paul's recent fights to sparring with an older Mike Tyson, showing how unprepared Paul is for a real heavyweight. Joshua's performances against Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gaines show he can end fights quickly. The skill gap between them is huge, leaving Paul exposed in every part of the matchup.
What do you think about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua?
Boy, you're dealing with a guy who's an Olympic gold medalist. He's enormous and he's got vicious knockout power. And you take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with 58-year-old Mike Tyson. And then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch the Francis Ngannou fight, just so you can see what Anthony Joshua is capable if he's fighting someone that's not in his league. Watch this. So he drops him with a right hand early. And this is 2 minutes into the first round. Francis gets up, he survives, and then check out this combination he hits him with. I mean, dude, he probably has no idea where he is.
Frank Warren points out how much Anthony Joshua is favored in this fight. As a natural heavyweight world champion and Olympic gold medalist, Joshua has proven he's elite. Comparing him to Jake Paul shows the huge mismatch. Paul doesn't have traditional amateur experience and has only 12 fights. Joshua's power and ability to control a fight make it nearly impossible for Paul to compete at the same level. An upset seems extremely unlikely. Fans are watching a fight that clearly favors the true champion.
AJ's a massive favourite. He's a natural heavyweight, two-time world champion, Olympic gold medalist. We all seen him. He can punch, he can bang. You see what he done to Ngannou. Jake Paul, I don't think he's had amateur experience. He's had 12 fights, I think, as starting off as a YouTuber, but trains as a fighter now and has become a...
Anthony Joshua clearly explains his strategy for fighting Jake Paul, showing the big difference in experience and skill. He plans to use heavy punches and show Paul boxing techniques he has never faced before. This highlights Joshua's dominance and tactical advantage. Paul is entering a fight where his lack of experience will be fully exposed by a world-class heavyweight. Joshua's approach is precise and powerful, making it easy to see why fans and analysts view him as almost unstoppable against someone like Jake Paul.
I'm going to land heavy punches, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to expose him to certain tricks in boxing that he may not have seen yet, and I'm going to bring him to another school of boxing that I don't think he's been.
Carl Froch is very honest about Jake Paul's limits in the ring. Even an Anthony Joshua who is slightly past his prime is far beyond Paul's level. Joshua's powerful punches, ring control and natural reach make this a clear mismatch. Paul's loss to Tommy Fury shows he can't handle real boxing talent. Fans can see that this fight could end quickly with Joshua taking advantage of every weakness Paul has. There's no strategy Paul could use to match Joshua's experience, power and skill, making this fight overwhelmingly in favor of the champion.
I truly believe, watching the press conference yesterday, I truly believe that he believes he's going to win the fight. He's got to just get into range, land a shot, and he'll knock out.
Spencer Oliver points out Jake Paul's naive optimism when he says he can knock out Anthony Joshua. Joshua's experience and skill make that idea almost laughable. Paul underestimates Joshua's precision, power and tactical intelligence. Counting on a lucky punch against a seasoned champion shows Paul isn't prepared and highlights the huge gap between him and a real heavyweight. Fans can see that Joshua is unlikely to give any openings, and Paul's overconfidence could easily lead to a quick and decisive loss, with no chance to recover.
Versus Jake Paul, then we all know what should happen. This is a one-round job because AJ, even though he's past his best, even though he's seen better days, he throws a nice 1-2 down the middle. He's got a nice bit of distance, and fake Paul can't fight. He just can't. I don't care what anybody tells me. He can't fucking fight. He lost to Tommy Fury for crying.
Johnny Nelson points out the huge advantage Anthony Joshua has over Jake Paul in both size and skill. Joshua's power, experience and overall ability make him the clear favorite and most expect a decisive win. Paul's inexperience and smaller size make a quick knockout very likely. This fight shows the big difference between a world-class heavyweight and a YouTube fighter. Fans expect Joshua to dominate, and while the pressure is on him, his record and devastating power suggest he will easily deliver, leaving Paul exposed in every way.
Joshua is bigger than Jake Paul in our world. So there'll be more of a judgment on Anthony Joshua than there will be on Jake Paul, because Anthony Joshua is expected to get this boy blasted out.
Odd Oladipo predicts a frightening scenario for Jake Paul, with Anthony Joshua dominating from the very start, barely paying attention to the referee. Joshua is expected to control the center of the ring and possibly finish the fight in under a minute. This shows the huge skill and power gap between Joshua and Paul. Fans can easily imagine how quickly Joshua's timing and knockout ability could end the fight. Paul's hype won't survive. Facing a real heavyweight champion, the fight looks set for Joshua to show his full superiority and leave Paul completely overwhelmed.
Final predictions for the fight?
AJ will start the fight. The referee will say, come to the center of the ring. AJ will walk back. He will go over and knock out Jake Paul in about 45 seconds.
The stakes are huge for Jake Paul as he steps into the ring with a real heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. Joshua's power, technique and Olympic-level experience make him a nightmare for any inexperienced fighter. Paul's overconfidence only helps Joshua. If Joshua wins as expected, it will confirm his place as one of the most dominant heavyweights of his generation and send a warning to anyone thinking they can step up. Without real boxing experience, if against all odds Jake Paul pulls off a win, it would be one of the biggest upsets in modern boxing, but everything we've seen, the footage and expert commentary suggests that's almost impossible. Joshua is calm, focused and fully prepared while Paul looks intimidated and out of his depth. Are you backing Anthony Joshua or do you think Jake Paul could shock? Share your thoughts below.